up, YouTube fans? Today we're going to take a look at the X-Transbots Janssen, their version of a masterpiece Perceptor. Now, I have a little bit of history with this guy. This is my second copy. My first copy I got from Toy Dojo had the leg broken inside the box, so they asked me to send it back to them, and they're going to send me a replacement. In the meantime, Mike Rogers, who also ordered from Toy Dojo, got his copy and said, hey, I can send you my copy for review. So he did that, and Toy Dojo is not going to send my copy back to him. So thank you to Toy Dojo for helping us, and thank you to Mike Rogers for sending this to me so I could take a look at a review. So I did get a good copy this time. I don't have a broken leg. It still has some issues, but we'll talk about those as we go. Obviously, other reviewers have already put their reviews out, like Pake for Life and Bobby Skullface. The great thing about that is I can learn from others' mistakes, or others have commented on issues they had. So that's the good news. So I'm going to go through all of the things, all the different things you need to know and watch out for. Now, first off, right out of the box, this is how it comes. It's kind of mistransformed. So you're going to pull down on the arms, push forward on this panel. There's a little tab right here to grab onto. That'll allow you to pull up on the hand, fold that up, fold this in. Don't fold it all the way in. I mean, you can still get it out with this little tab, but if you fold it all the way down, you end up with a little gap there, right? So it's kind of ugly. So I recommend only close it maybe that much, and then that allows you to have the illusion of that no gap there, right? So same on this, and then rotate the hand to the front. Same on this side, open this up, fold this out, fold this forward, fold this in just a little bit, and then put that hand back down. All right, the other thing, which is more complex and has more of an issue to fix, is this. So this is the second copy, like I mentioned, and it had the same mistransformation as the others. I don't know if it was intentional or just accidental, but the way this is installed is incorrect right out of the box. So go ahead and lift this up. I'll try to show you what I'm talking about. So we're going to kind of untransform it a little bit here. So go ahead and open up this panel here. I'm going to lift up on this, and we need to bring this arm out so I can just so I can show you what I'm talking about. It's not necessary normally, but go ahead and open up this tiny tab, and a lot of people have been breaking this. I'll talk about that and how to avoid breaking it. But go ahead and just take the arm and fold that down, and now you can see in there. And what you want is this has to be at a 90-degree angle. This slider that's in there, and I'll point to it with this. So this slider right here, let's see if we can get some light on it, has to be all the way down and pointed upwards. Some people are having it pointed to the right, or it depends on how it comes in the box. It definitely wasn't like this, but that has to be pointed straight up and down and pushed all the way down on the slider. That will allow you to take the piece and that's attached to it and put it horizontally. So that should be 100% 90 degrees, and then another 90 degrees this way for this piece. That's the only way to get this to line up and look correct. Otherwise, you'll have misalignment and it just won't plug in. It'll be really bothersome because the scope won't plug in and do the right things. So that's how you get it in. So let's put everything back here. Go ahead and rotate that back up. Close this little panel gently. Push this back down. You can push this. Now this panel never really ever sits properly. It's supposed to have two little pegs back here to hold it. I've found that no matter what I do, it doesn't sit flush. Put this back down. Now this has to fold downwards. This is another thing. So if you have this chest not all the way down, this won't sit flush because it won't fit in there. So make sure this panel right here is completely horizontal. So you have it like sitting straight like that, because this little bump out is going to fit right in there. And if you don't have it down and straight, it won't go in and you'll have problems. So get this in, put that in the little gap, and then straighten up the chest. The chest is the thing that needs to be fully compressed. And if it's not compressing, that means that you don't have that in there. All right, so there's all this adjustment, and let me just show you now that we have the thing put in there right, it fits nice and smooth in there. There's a tiny little gap you can see, and it's got to go in there, and it won't go in if you don't have it set up right. It's still a little bit loose, but much better this way than out of box. So those are the adjustments you need to do, and you may need to also, these thighs tend to come apart. I just like to push them down a little bit to get those thighs pushed in and put the chest all the way down. And now we're ready to rock and roll with Janssen. Really nice looking robot mode. Let's put the cartoon image up there. I think they nailed it. I mean, it looks really good compared to the cartoon. He's a little bit bulky in terms of his, the thickness of his chest and the thickness of his arms, but overall really, really nice looking. It's got a gloss red paint on almost 90% of the body. Gloss metallic silver here, here, and here. And then a metallic blue for the arms and the thighs. All that looks nice. You got black paint on the die-cast feet. You also have die-cast here. This entire piece is die-cast right here. You have, let's see, are these die-cast? Some of it, this is die-cast. Some of the chest and the body is die-cast. I mean, it is filled. It is filled with die-cast. That's also part of the issue. So because there's so much die-cast, he needs to hold up his weight. Now, over time, what happens is these joints, because they're on pins, and I wish people would stop using pins and start using screws so we can retighten them, but unfortunately these toes aren't a pin. So he does fall forward on the weight. He's got a high center of gravity. So to remedy that, you just want to rotate the legs out a little bit. That'll give him a little bit more balance. He sits nice and flat on his heels, but the toes, if they're loose, will give way. So just give him a rotation on the thighs, and that'll help stabilize him. But really, really nice looking robot. Now he does come with a ton of accessories. Let's go over those. So the guns come on these little trays here. And I'm not sure if this is going to be mounting to something. There's little tabs here on the back. It's not revealed in the instruction book, and they haven't told us, but maybe these are going to mount onto something for storage. But right now, that's how they come. So you just get these guns off, and we'll show you how they work. I mean, you just take them off here. This one just slides back. And you assemble this one. It's keyed, so it only goes one way. Unfortunately, I have a loose gun, so it doesn't really stay. Sometimes it falls out. You could probably just fix that with some kiki, but I wanted to show you before I changed it. There are the hands. There are individually articulated fingers and thumb, but you have the traditional tabbing system that we're all used to. Tabs in nicely. There's the gun. And yeah, we have that problem. So just don't shake it. I don't think everybody has that problem, but I definitely have that problem. You also get the smaller gun here. Looks like just a red plastic. There you go. And that gun has a specific blast effect. So it's on this little thing. I'm not sure what this is for, but just to hold it, I guess. But you can take that, and that fits on the end of this gun. It doesn't fit anywhere else, but that looks really, really nice. It's a great, and I'm just going to leave this off because it's going to keep falling off. But that is a great effect. I love when companies start including blast effects, so we don't have to go off and find them or buy them. All right, and then the last gun is a actual firing weapon. So here's the cannon. Here's the rocket, and if you press on this red thing right here, it does fire. Nice little thing. I mean, it just kind of makes you feel like a kid again. And there you go. There's his toy look. I really like this gun. Now, my first copy had very loose elbows, and the reason is it's on a pin joint there. But thankfully, there's a second joint which is on a screw. So if you end up with a loose joint here, which I don't have right now, so that's great, you can always fold on the lower joint, which you can tighten. So I like that they gave you a double jointed elbow, and I don't have to worry too much about the top one, the pin loosening. And you can see me constantly adjusting these. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But there you go for his weapons. Really, really nice weapons. You also get these. So you get a flask, you get a beaker, and you get a test tube. And these all have little tabs on the side so you can put them into his hands. So let's get these into his hands so I can show you how they look. And there you go. There is Janssen pouring the test tube into the flask. Looks really nice. I don't even know what these things are, to be honest. I don't know what their names are. This same thing, although this tab is a little bit thick to fit in the hand, you can do the same thing. You can use this. But I really like that. That just adds to the display factor for this guy. And by request from Mr. G. Tony, there he is holding the moon rock from the one episode where they all got the cosmic rust. In case you're wondering how I did it, this is the rock from Starscream, MP52, and this is a little tray from Dr. Wu figure. So there you go. Now he does come with a ton of faces, and they're all pretty good. So this is the stock one, just a straight face. To change it out, you're basically going to lift up, and you can just pull that straight off. It just has a little tab. Sometimes it comes off a little too easy, but that's how you take it off. So there he is with the open mouth face, maybe kind of talking. There he is with a kind of, I don't know, grimacing face or frowning a little bit. There's his worried face, and I kind of like this one. And there's an extremely worried face, or maybe even yelling face. And then finally there is the smiling face. I think that looks good as well. Now you can actually swap out the head, so you get two alternate heads. In order to swap the head, you're going to rotate this around, push it forward. It's a little tricky, like I mentioned earlier. That panel tends to move on you. So you're going to push it forward gently on that mushroom peg. Just slides right out, and then take the next one, pop that back on, and that's what I mentioned. It's frustrating putting this on, but there is the comic face with the eyepiece. Really, really nicely done head sculpt. I just hate putting it on, but there you go for that. And there's the comic head without the eyepiece. Also nice looking. Now you are supposedly not able to transform this with these comic heads on there. It does have a spring-loaded piece on the top, and this one's actually popping out, but it has the spring-loaded piece that you need for transformation. But since the instructions say not to do it, I'm not going to push my luck. There's no way I'm going to go against the instructions, so you do have to remove these for transformation. I do get a couple more accessories, which are these little minifigures. They do look nice. The face sculpts aren't the greatest, but overall they're nice little figures. Let's take a look at each one. We'll go over the articulation on Perceptor, and then the others we'll just show you them. Perceptor has a unique thing that his scope moves, obviously. The head is on a ball joint. It goes up and down, and it rotates. Really a lot of detail, right? He's got almost the exact same paint job. Arms rotate on a ball joint. You have a single jointed elbow, gets you 90 degrees. You have a waist rotation here. Legs go up to there, back to there, out to the side a little bit. Well, I guess it goes all the way. You have a 90-degree bend at the knee, and you have a ankle tilt and a little bit back and forth. So that's a lot of articulation. He looks really nice next to his daddy here. So now the other figures, here they are. Here's Brawn. Very nicely painted again. Looks great. The faces are a little off on these. The eyes are not quite placed right. And then here's Bumblebee. For size comparison, there is Janssen next to MP44 Optimus Prime. Looks good, fits in just right, in my opinion. And there's Janssen next to the movie crew. So this is kind of a mix. I've got some Takara Tomy, Vans Toys, another Takara Tomy, KFC over here until we get a new one. And he fits right in with this movie crew. I like the size overall, and just the overall aesthetic seems to fit it. All right, now let's get Janssen transformed into his microscope mode. Take a sip of water and get some patience, because you want to go slow with this guy. There's several things to watch out for. But let's start with the easy stuff. Go ahead and take the hands, fold this out, rotate the hand, make sure the thumb is underneath like that. Fold that in and close up that panel. Same on this side, and then you can collapse the arm. This side, fill that up, rotate that down, put that in, and close that up. And then collapse the arm. Easy part. So now let's work on the hard part. So go ahead and lift this up. We're going to pull these tabs out. You just have to sit out of the way. The less stress you can put on these, the better, right? They're just very fragile. Lots of reviewers and people have broken those. So just move it out of the way. It's going to get in your way again. So as much as you can, try to get that out of the way, all right? Go ahead and lift up this panel out of the way. Make sure you do that. You don't want to pull the arm out before you do that. Get this down. And now you've got the arms ready. So same on this side, lift this up, kind of get that all the way up and out of the way. Bring the arm down and leave that there. We're going to get this whole thing out of there. So take this panel, that's going to fold and lift up out of the way. It does feel substantial, by the way. It doesn't feel like it's going to break on me. So, but still, just be cautious. Lift this up and out of the way. That'll allow you to take this. Now here's where I wanted to show this before I transform all the way. So go ahead and get this chest panel or the abdomen panel out and up, and then fold this down. Fold this panel down. And what I wanted to show is the way I had this configured, the little blue piece sits right there in that little gap. So that's how you know you've got it right. And I'm just going to show you again. That's how it should sit, with that blue piece sitting right in that little slot. It's not very clear, it's not explaining the instructions, and it doesn't come transformed that way. And then you have the 90 degree, straight up, straight across, and then straight up again. If you have it like that, everything will sit properly. If you have anything off, it won't. So just be aware of that. And I also recommend having a spudger handy for this, because there's lots of little spots where you're going to need it. This being one of them. So go ahead and fold this piece inwards. And now you can take that entire armature and fold this back. And you got to kind of work around all this stuff here. There we go. And then take this, pull it upwards, and then slide it back. All right, now that's completely out of your way. You don't have to work with that. Take this panel here in the front, fold that down. That's going to make a straight panel on the front. Take the head. This panel is going to fold back. You're going to take the entire thing, rotate it inside. Next, go ahead and take this head, rotate it around, and then close this panel. And this does retract, so you need to have this completely straight. The head should be completely straight and fit into that gap. All right, go ahead and take that panel. That's going to fold down like that. Take the entire thing and rotate it so it sits. And again, I've lost the face in there. This has happened many times. The face just loves to fall off. My recommendation, don't transform it with the face. Just take it off, set it aside. And that's what we're going to do here. Right? This panel is going to fit right into a little gap right here. See that little slot? So you can close this back up, make sure that lines up with that, and get that in there. And that's how you know it's perfectly straight and it's in the position it's supposed to be. This should be horizontal, this should be horizontal, and it should have fit in that little gap. All right, next we're going to take these side panels and we're going to push those down. So there's tabs sticking out. So grab that and push with your finger from the inside. Not only to get this panel, push it all the way down, as far down as it'll go. And then we're going to try to clear it from here. It does get caught up, so you need to get as much clearance as you can. It's just a very tight fit, but fold that up, and there we go. Got that out. So it requires pushing this up a little bit. All right, same on this side. We're going to push from the inside with your finger, fold this up a little bit, and then fold that out. We have to get this panel in, so lift this all the way up and make sure you're holding it up. You need this to be out of the way, but you need this to be slid all the way up before you can push this down and in. It will not fit unless you do that. It's got to be in that sequence, otherwise you'll have a problem. All right, now you can let this go. That can slide back down. Take the arm, lift that up, rotate the arm 180 degrees, fold this up, fold down here on this joint right here, and then take the entire arm, push it back in. I've noticed there's a little clearance problem right here. You just have to work around that. It should fit in there. If it's not fitting, that means you've got something wrong inside, but it should just fit, and there you go. All right, go ahead and take this and make sure this has moved its way in. If you try to push this, you're going to bend this, you're going to stress this plastic. So open this, push this in, close that up, and we got one side done. Yay. Now let's do this one. All right, so we already got this panel out, so that's good. Open this up, flip the arm 180 degrees, fold that up, fold this panel down. I like to push this in separately, so get that in, make sure it's all clearing, there's nothing in the way. Always check, make sure this is open, close that down, close the flap. Oh, and we didn't forget to put this in, so we can just open the arm a little bit, get that down, and then put that back in. And you can see the head has lost its position, so it's got to be straight. It should be just like that. All right, now that we have that, we can take this, slide this all the way up, close this. It's going to push it back on the top of the head. Open that panel. You can see how it just pushed in on the back of the head. Take this and peg that in. And that should sit. It doesn't sit very securely, but there you go. It should be like that. Right. Next, go ahead and take the waist, and you're going to slide back on that joint, so it's all the way back like that. Take the waist and rotate it around, and it'll just lift up these panels out of the way. That allows this to line up with this. Pull down on the thigh, that releases this. It may have already released itself, unfortunately. That's just this transformation sometimes does its own thing. And this has to fit in here. It's supposed to tab in. It doesn't tab in very well. Not the best design, unfortunately, but take this and rotate this to the front. And we're going to push this inward. This is one of the issues with this figure, is this is constantly moving, that tab, and you can never get it in. But get this tab right here to tab into the side of the inner thigh. Yeah, and you really have to just work with this. Unfortunately, it likes to pop out. So it might pop out again. Just get it as best you can. Same on this side. So we're going to rotate this up. And so here's another issue. This hip skirt likes to get caught. So you got to make sure that hip skirt's rotated down. You can actually hold right here and then rotate the leg back, and that'll make sure that hip skirt stays in the position it's supposed to be in. Go ahead and take the leg, fold that up, and tab in. Take this, rotate that down, and tab that back into the side of the thigh. Come to the bottom here. You're going to take a spudger or a tool of some sort. You're going to pop out these wheels, slide them to the inside as far as they go, and then put it back down. And that's what keeps it from falling down. So same on this side. Pop this up, slide it in, and then push it back down. Make this sure this is upwards. Fold this panel down. That's going to make your little tray. Push in on this. Allow you to rotate it around so you get the red colored piece there. And I'm just realizing I forgot a step here, so, and then that's going to get plugged in. Right, same on this side, and I apologize I didn't show that earlier. Get that plugged in, and there you have Janssen in his microscope mode. Pretty nice looking, but unfortunately extremely frustrating to do. But once you get it here, it does look pretty good. I did notice he does lean back a little bit, but if you have it transformed right and you've got the tabs in somewhat the right place, it tends to lean forward like this, and that prevents it from falling backwards. So that's kind of how you prevent that. Now these tabs on the side, these red tabs, don't stay in. You saw that. It's kind of frustrating as I was transforming, but you can open up this and that will bring the scope down. You could do that in robot mode too, but nice little touch there. And of course you can bring in the minifigures or whatever and put it on the tray, and nice little display option there. All right, now before we get Janssen into tank mode, I just want to explain something. One of the frustrations with this is it doesn't hold together, and as you're trying to transform it, you're fighting against a couple things. So this tab doesn't want to stay, this slider wants to slide, and then this tab also doesn't want to stay. And that makes for a very frustrating experience. I just want to explain what it is. Now, I haven't found a better way to do it. You just kind of have to watch all three of those things and get it together, set it down, and not touch it. But let's get into tank mode. So relatively simple. Go ahead and take the legs, pull those out. We're going to untab these. That'll allow you to, and fold this up. Rotate the waist 180 degrees, push that waist back in, fold those back up. These can just stay down or up, it doesn't matter. And actually leave these for now because we're going to take care of that in just a minute. Come to the arms up here, unpeg them from the inside, pull them upwards, push that tab in, rotate, and put back down. All right, same on this side, pull that up, push that tab in, rotate, and put it back down. Now come to the sides here. Here's where we're going to use these tabs. Be careful with those tabs. This is where people are breaking them. You can see the tab itself is actually on an angle. That's because it's going to go into this leg on an angle. I would recommend not shoving it in there all the way, unless you have a loose one. My right one is kind of loose, so it moves in and out nice and free, whereas my left one doesn't. But I would just be careful with those tabs. But before we tab it in, let's take care of all this. And that's going to avoid stress on this. So do all these operations before. All right, so first, take this, and we'll just close this for now. Take this and pull this down. That's going to free this little tab right here. So get that pegged in to the side of that tab. Lift up the wheel, push it to the inside, and then push that back. Same on this side. Go ahead and take this panel, pull this down. There is a panel in there. It is really frustrating to get out. So I'm not even going to bother, but if you wanted to, you can lift this up, and you really got to get a tool or something in here, and you got to get that panel rotated, and it's just a hassle. So I don't think it's worth it, so I'm just going to leave it. But go ahead and fold that foot or heel out, and then fold this. This is really tight, scary tight, and then get that back in, close that back up, come to the bottom, make sure you've tabbed this in, push the wheel, and then that's going to sit all the way forward like that. Right. And I think we had to do this one as well. So fold that out, fold this out, fold that up on this tab. This is die cast, so I have a little bit of confidence in that, but this is plastic, so be careful with these joints here. Right now we can bring and get it into these tabs, and again I mentioned don't force this in. If it's loose like mine, see mine is kind of loose, that's fine. If it's really tight, don't force it on because it's going to be very hard to get off, and then that's how people are breaking this tab. Right, so push this in, that tabbed in. So this one is a little bit tighter, so I'm not going to force it. I'm just going to let it sit a little loose there. Go ahead and take this. This is going to fold upwards. Put the shield back up, or whatever you want to call it. This is going to sit flat like this. And you can open this up or whatever, but there is your tank mode. It does have 4 wheels. 1, 2, 3, 4. It does roll on those wheels. I don't know. This thing is just kind of wacky because, one, this doesn't really stay in place. It just kind of moves around. There's nothing that like secures this. So it just doesn't feel great, but maybe you're supposed to put this in. I don't know. It just constantly moves on me, to be honest. But there's your tank mode. Not my favorite, but it is something you can do with this figure. For a size comparison, there it is next to the MMC version of Springer. I don't know. It is a tank, after all. But the microscope mode doesn't really make sense to scale with anything because, of course, it's not going to scale. But this is fine. Now, before I get it back into robot mode for final thoughts, I just want to mention when you're going back and you're trying to get these arms back out, don't pull this and force it. You've got to push them from the inside or you're going to break this joint. So you can use a spudger or something to get a little help. And then, get this pushed out a little bit. And then you can get your finger in there. And that'll allow you to fold that out. That's what you need to do on both sides. So make sure to do that and don't pull on the arm. Final thoughts on X-Transbots Janssen. I have a lot to say here, so this might be a long final thoughts. Let's start with the positives. I think the sculpt and paint look really nice. You got really nice red, silver, and metallic blue. That all stands out really well. The overall look of the figure is great, especially right out of box. The heft and the overall look and feel really are impressive. Seems like another level for X-Transbots. You also get a ton of accessories. You get all the little mini figures. Those are really cool. You get all of the extra faces and the extra head sculpts. Those are really nice. You get the little beakers and the little flasks, and those are all really nice. The only thing that I didn't love was this. The gun is, very loose, which is why I don't have it posed with it because it just falls right out. But these two guns are just fine for me personally. And I like the blast effect. All of the accessories, really, really excellent job by X-Transbots. Negatives wise, I have a lot of negatives. So starting off, the tolerances are way too problematic. So in the microscope mode, which you saw during transformation, these side panels don't peg in. The legs just flop around. These thighs themselves are supposed to peg in, but you're constantly fiddling with them because they keep coming out. These feet are now loose, so he has trouble holding his weight. Setting up this pose took me a while because he keeps falling forward, and that's due to the loose joints here now in the toes and the ankles, which happens over time, or it could just be out of box, but it just seems like they needed a ratchet or tighter joints there. Same for some of the other frustrating parts are actually transforming this. There are many, many people who have breakages here, and the reason is it's got to be a very, very specific order. You have to have it exactly in the right position or you're going to break something. You can break this joint. You can break the joints getting the legs out. The arms out as you're trying to pull the arms out, going back to robot mode. This positioning is very complex because you got to have it perfectly 90 degrees in all the corners, and reaching in there with your fingers is tough. There's just too many frustrating and annoying things you need to do for transformation. And that's where this figure fails, is the transformation is classic X-Transbots, way overcomplicated, way too many hinges and parts that get in the way that aren't intuitive. And that's what's leading to a lot of the breakages. Now, my initial copy was not due to transformation. It was just broken in box. That's a QC problem. But design of this thing suffers. And because of that, the transformation is really not fun. So because of that, I don't recommend it because I don't know if you're going to get a good copy or not. I'm 1 for 2. I had one bad copy and one good copy. This one's okay. I was extremely, extremely cautious with this figure because I knew of all the breakages, especially after my first one. So if you are not the kind of person who transforms, you're just going to put it on the shelf. And I forgot to mention this too. These hip skirts get stuck. So you got to get your finger in there and put them back down. But anyway, if you're the kind of person who doesn't transform your figures, you're just going to pose it, put it on the shelf with your movie figures like I showed you in the review, and leave it, then you're probably going to love this thing, right? It looks great. It has a great presence, great paint. But if you like to transform, and for me personally, Transformers have to transform. That's why I'm buying this thing. That's why I'm paying the money, the $140 that it costs, because I want it to transform. And if you can't do that function, then to me, doesn't meet the mark, and therefore I can't recommend it. So that's it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this review. Hopefully I pointed out some things that'll help you get this guy transformed. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.